Well, if you support a club that are anything like Arsenal, you're probably sitting here stressing over some results that are completely pointless and utterly meaningless when it comes down to it. Pre-season doesn't give you points on the board, but what it does do is give either fans hope for the upcoming season, concerns, and maybe gives you a little bit of an idea for how your team's looking going into the big campaign. But how much does pre-season really matter? That's what I want to talk about a little bit here. As you can see, I'm sitting in the AFTV studio. I've just seen Arsenal draw 1-1 with Monaco. They won on penalties, great. But I wanted to talk about this. How much does pre-season really matter? Because you see the fallout. We didn't look great against Monaco. And actually, apart from the Barcelona game, Arsenal haven't looked great in most of their pre-season games. Does it matter, though? That's kind of what I want to discuss. I've got a little bit of evidence to back up some points, but I'm just going to give my general thoughts because pre-season is a very interesting time. Like I just mentioned, you don't get points on the board. You don't get to any other rounds of cups. You don't win anything, apart from the Emirates Cup and the Audi Trophy and whatever it is. But the point is that it's really used for getting the team up to speed. That is really what this is all about. It's about getting the team up to speed. So it doesn't matter if for the whole of pre-season your team look like they're getting up to speed, or should there come a point in that pre-season where actually it looks like they're there and they're ready to go. And I think because Arsenal fans saw what a great pre-season can do for the start of a season, I think it maybe slightly warped a little bit what pre-season's all about. But it shouldn't be ignored either, because there is evidence that strong starts of pre-seasons mean really strong seasons. I want to talk about this, but I want to talk about it in the context of other clubs as well on this channel. You'll understand why in a second. Let's start by just talking about what pre-season is. And I think I've got two theories here about how people treat it and how managers might treat it. Here's the first one. A, it's a chance to experiment. It's more than anything, it's a chance to try different things and to evolve your team on last year. Because there is a school of thought that what's the point coming back and doing the same things? Football evolves, team evolves, people understand what you're going to do year in, year out, and you need to have something different. So it's a chance to experiment, to get your new signings into the team and to understand what partnerships are working, because we always think the managers have the answers, right? We always think managers do things knowing, yep, I want this player because he's going to play with this player and everything's going to work and I know it. The reality is that managers lose their jobs a lot. Managers are often trying things differently, are trying to attempt new things, and sometimes that's not going to work. In fact, often things don't work for managers. So we also need to give them that bedding in and trying period. But that's the first thing, experimenting, trying new things. The second thing is that it's just important prep and it's crucial for momentum. That's the second way you can view pre-season. Doesn't matter whether you're trying new things, you're going with the old thing, whatever, it's about getting goals in the team, minutes in the legs, fitness up to speed, sharpness in the brain, and it's all about the momentum you carry into the start of the season. Arsenal started last season with Crystal Palace away, a place they'd lost just 3 or 4 months before, 3-0 I think, and they went in pretty comfortably 1-2-0, and the reason being was the pre-season was really rock solid. With a 100% record, they absolutely wiped the slate with everyone, and they went on to win their opening 5 games of the Premier League season because of the form they'd put together. The momentum was there, the goals were coming, and the players that were doing well in pre-season end up doing well in the match, and in the matches in the league season. You can't ignore all that, you absolutely can't. But like I said, pre-season can be treated differently, and to a degree you can get a little bit of both. But I want to explore this part about momentum when trying to answer, does it matter? Does all this ultimately matter in the end? Well, let me just tell you about this firstly. I've got the win percentages of the Big Six last season in pre-season, and then their win percentages from their first 5 Premier League games of last season as well. Let's start with Arsenal. We had a 100% win rate in pre-season and ended with a 100% win rate from their first 5 Premier League games of last year as well. Man United had a 50% win percentage in pre-season and ended up with a 60% win rate in their opening 5 games of the Premier League season. Chelsea, with a 60% win rate in pre-season, had a 40% win rate in the Premier League last season. Tottenham, with a 33% win rate in pre-season, had a 60% win rate in the start of last season. Man City, 100% in pre-season to 80% in the league. And Liverpool, 40% in pre-season to 40% in the league. I think if there's one thing that proves that actually across the Big Six last season, there was a real correlation between the Arsenals and Man Cities, who had a spotless pre-season, ended up taking 100% wins and 80% win percentages in their Premier League campaigns, and Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham and Liverpool, who all didn't get in above 60% win percentages and actually dropped a lot of points in their opening 5 games, bar Tottenham, who still picked up a 60% win percentage. I think, you can't really ignore those kind of numbers. There seems to be something in this idea that the momentum correlates to fast starts in the Premier League. Now, of course, there's other things. Who did you play in your opening 5 games? Tottenham, for example, had Chelsea away and West Ham away. Ended up picking actually good points away from home and winning the rest of the games. That could be a part of it as well, so context matters. But that is interesting. In fact, what's more interesting when you look at Liverpool the season before, this is the team that went and challenged for the quadruple. Remember that. They had a 50% win percentage in pre-season the year before and a 60% win percentage in the opening 5 games of the 21-22 Premier League season. Arsenal, funnily enough, that season actually had a pretty poor pre-season and ended up opening with 3 defeats in their opening 3 games. But what's interesting about that Liverpool one there is, even though they didn't have a great pre-season, they didn't have a great start to the season either, what they actually ended up doing was challenging for the quadruple. So momentum can be built across a season. And how many times we talk about Man City and we say, yeah, they've not hit full gear, but they're going to get going. They're going to warm up into it. They end strong. As an Arsenal fan, I'd love that to be true. I'd love for us to just get by and then get better as the season goes on and then win 15 of our last 16 Premier League games or whatever. That would be great. But I think to do that, you've got to do that from a position of strength. I think you've got to be a Liverpool where you've actually won titles in Champions Leagues and done things, and therefore you can get back up to speed like that. And Man City as well, where they were the Premier League champions, didn't mind if they're a little bit slower because they're adapting to Haaland, trying new things, and they knew they were going to get going and then inevitably win the treble, which was really impressive. Is Arteta thinking about it in a similar way with Arsenal? Try new things, they'll get up to speed. They challenged for the title last year. We've got to that calibre, even though we haven't won a major trophy, and we will build that momentum getting there. I don't know. Arsenal fans, if you're watching this, maybe that is something that will ease the minds. But I do think there's definitely something in that. Momentum in pre-season carries into momentum of games. It's a small pool of data I've got there, but it does tell you a little something. Other things to remember as well when it comes to these pre-season, things like tours is, I've got it here, tour squad sizes can be up to 29 players. Arsenal, in their opening 5 Premier League games of last season, only fielded 17 players. So that tells you actually that when it comes to the real thing, that squad gets trimmed, or the number of players used gets cut all the way. About 10 to 12 players will basically lose relevance and lose a spot in their contribution to the first team come the actual start of Premier League games, and that's important to know as well. I think also other things like the length of tour matters. Sometimes clubs go here, there and everywhere, and that can play a part. Sometimes they have a very seamless entry into the season with a very easy kind of tour and easy plans, and that can all work out. Sometimes the level of opposition you play can play a part as well. Arsenal, for example, it feels like everything has happened a little bit faster this pre-season tour because they've got the Community Shield to think about as well. Once that Community Shield has been played, there's then 6 days before their next game, which is the start of the Premier League season. So all these things play a part. So ultimately, to answer the big question, does pre-season matter? I think the answer is yes, it does. But I think information we'll never be privy to really as fans is what are the managers treating it like and what do they want out of it, and that ultimately answers how much it should matter. So if you're Mikel Arteta this pre-season, you've played Timber right back, left back, but he mainly started centre back last year, and Declan Rice has played 6 and he's played 8, and Havertz has played 8 even though he's never been a forward, and Trossard's played 8 and left wing and false 9. Maybe there's an argument for this having just been a very experimental pre-season, which he wanted to try a load of things, and when the real thing comes, he actually knows the 11 he can revert to that will get him results and get momentum going again. I hope that's true, but the reality is that's not always the case. Man City under Pep Guardiola haven't always had great pre-season, I don't believe. They just lost to Atletico Madrid, but do I believe that Man City can click into gear when they need to? Absolutely. So I think it depends what the managers are trying to get out of pre-season, and I do think that plays a part. When you look at the fact that Arteta last year played the final 2 games of pre-season against Chelsea and Sevilla with the first 11 player for player exactly the same, that then went out and played against Crystal Palace on the opening day of the season, that tells you that he wanted to build momentum and familiarity amongst that exact core of 11 players. Now, maybe it's looking for something else. I don't know. At least that's what I hope, because Arsenal have had a very, as Laurie likes to say, scratchy pre-season, and that's probably a kind way to put it. Let me know your thoughts. How much does pre-season matter? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Content coming out every Monday, Wednesday and Friday on the channel, and lots more to come as well, which I'll unveil in the coming days and weeks. Many thanks. See you very soon.